Thank you for tuning into Tanaka TV, the best and future biggest fight channel on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like, that comment, that subscribe button. We're trying to get this channel to over 1K by the end of the year. Now, I don't care what K it is. It can be 1K, 2K, 3K, 4K. I don't care what it is as long as this channel gets there, and I cannot do that without your support. So, thank you for those who support this channel, and thank you for those who will support this channel in the future. We are heading up on around 850 subscribers, so we're getting there, okay? We're getting there. Now, let's talk about this UFC 300 fight card that is coming up. And this might be one of the biggest, if not the biggest fight card to ever be in the UFC. Now let's go through the fighters of who will be a part of this. We've got Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Phenomenal headliner. Phenomenal. Okay. We've got Wei Li versus Yang Zhao Nan. We've also got Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. Now, I'm hearing news that Max Holloway might have pulled out of this fight. I don't know that for sure. I'm going to wait for news to unfold more before I give a for certain answer as to as far as how that's going to play out. Now, I'm hoping and I am praying to the MMA gods that this fight happens. I was really looking forward to this fight. I even made a whole video on it as soon as I heard about the news. Now, the reason for Max Holloway dropping out of this, I heard, was probably for the fact that he wants to be 145 champion again, and I get that. But as fight fans, we want to see that Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. Come on now, people. Come on now. We've also got Alex Pereira, I'm so sorry, Charles Oliveira versus Arman. We've got Ili. I always chop his name up. Ili Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. Okay, like I said, I'm terrible with names, people. I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names. But you get the picture, right? You've got Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. Oh my God. Bo Nickel. Come on. You've got Figueroa versus Cody Garbrandt. You've got Holly Holm. You've got Sadiq Youssef versus Diego Lopez. Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. You've got Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. People, we've got Bobby Green versus Jim Miller, and that's in the prelims. Okay? That's a prelim fight. That fight in itself, Bobby Green versus Jim Miller, could be on a main card. That could be like a co-main event fight on a fight night card, and that's in the prelims. So I'm here to ask the question: do you guys think that this is the best fight card to ever be in the UFC? Now, I looked up some other fight cards that have been in the past, right? Because I wanted to see how other fight cards would stack up against this. Now, let's look at the history of fight cards. The first fight card that came to mind was UFC 200. Now, to remind you guys of what UFC 200 was, the main event was Miesha Tate versus Amanda Nunes, which Amanda Nunes won. We had Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt as the co-main event. We had Daniel Cormier versus Anderson Silva. We had Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar. Cain Velasquez versus Travis Brown. In the prelims, we had Kat Zingano versus Juliana Pena. We had Johnny Hendricks versus Kelvin Gastelum. TJ Dillashaw versus Rafael Assunção. We had Sage Northcutt versus Enrique Marin. In the early prelims, guess what the headliner was? Diego Sanchez versus Joe Lozon, who I've met before. Okay, I've also met Amanda Nunes. People, I just wanted to put that out there, just a slight flex. Okay, we had Gegard Mousasi versus Thiago Santos. Jim Miller again versus Takanori Gomi. That's one hell of a fight card. I'm just gonna put it that way. That is for the time of what it was. That's a fight card that is hard to match. I don't know how long you guys have been following the UFC and how deep you are in the UFC, because if you are a casual fan, which is okay, that's fine by me. I know a lot of casuals get heat, and I think it's because casuals are usually the ones who are the biggest keyboard warriors when you see them under the comments. But I'm fine by casuals, okay? But if you're a casual, you may not know everybody that's on a card. But this is how I measure up what is a great card. If you are a casual and you know most of the fighters, then you know that that's going to be a bomb card because it's a big name. And a lot of fighters that aren't big names, there are still a lot of fighters that are not big names. A lot of good fighters that are not big names. But if you look at this card, like I said, Amanda Nunes, you should know who that is. Brock Lesnar, I know everybody knows who that is. Mark Hunt, casuals may not know that name, but you definitely will know Daniel Cormier and Anderson Silva. You should know who Jose Aldo is. Frankie Edgar. I mean, even if you're a decent fan, maybe slightly past casual level, you'll know all those names that I just mentioned. Cain Velasquez, you'll know that name. Travis Brown, maybe not. Kat Zingano, maybe not. Juliana Pena, she's made some noise in the past couple of years. Now, I know that she's been kind of on and off with her consistency, but she did beat Amanda Nunes, and that's something to be said, right? Johnny Hendricks, Kelvin Gastelum, TJ Dillashaw. Those are some huge names in the UFC. If you're a casual, then I'm here to tell you those are big, big names. Now, if we go back to the UFC 300, like I said, the bottom of that card is Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. These are both game fighters. Very game fighters with a very, very solid resume. Veterans of the game. Jessica Andrade versus Marina? Come on now. Come on. Working our way up. We've got Sadiq Youssef. We've got Holly Holm. Cody Garbrandt, who is a former bantamweight champion. Let's look at all of the champions and the former champions on this card. Jessica Andrade. We've got Holly Holm. That's 2. Both Figueroa. That's 3. And Cody Garbrandt. That's 4. We've got Aljamain Sterling. That's 5. We've got Illy. I can never say his name, people. You gotta help me out with that one, okay? I cannot for the life of me get his name correct. I can't. But we've got Illy. That's what? That's 6. Charles Oliveira, 7. Justin Gaethje. We want to put in interim champs? We'll put in interim champs. That's 8. Max Holloway, 9. Wei Lee, that's 10. Alex Pereira, that's 11. And Jamal Hill, that's 12. 12 champions and former champions on this card. Okay, I've decided this is the biggest card to ever grace the UFC, people. I'm really heavily looking forward to this, to all of these matchups. We're talking about every single fight is something that I'm looking forward to. people who are looking to be champs. I don't think there's a person on this card that you couldn't possibly see as a champion at some point in time. That's how stacked this card is. And these fights are happening supposedly in April the 14th. So I'll definitely be marking that in my calendar. Let me know what you guys think is the best fight card to ever grace the UFC. Is it 200? Is it 300? I mean, UFC 100, that was a pretty good card for its time too. Look, we had GSP, Thiago Alves, Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping, John Fitch, Paulo Thiago. We had Mark Coleman, Stephan Bonner, Jim Miller. John Jones was on this card versus Jake O'Brien. Dong Hyun Kim versus TJ Grant. CB Dollaway was on this fight. That was a pretty decent card, but I'm going to still give it to 300. What is your favorite card? Comment down below, people. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm so excited for this card coming up. Man. Yeah. Peace.